And can you imagine? Think about it. If our children don't call us when they get to where they're supposed to go to, just to like go to a movie or to bowling, we panic. To be able to live without, your children don't have your cell phone because you're not allowed to have your cell phone on you when you're fighting in the war. Can you imagine this worry, not hearing? I remember the November 9th letter that Natalie sent me. She said, for 1 month, I still haven't heard my boys. Imagine going through that, all the mothers in Israel, all the wives, grandmothers, fathers, grandfathers, brothers, sisters, not knowing what's happening, and not until the army knocks at your door, God forbid. Thank God for Hazala, and I can tell you on a personal level I know it because my cousin is one of the active volunteers. His name is Pinsky, and he volunteers and he goes down south every other day to pick up and rescue people who need an ambulance. And Natalie and I connected because I wanted to send money to, Michael and I should say, wanted to send money to a place in which we knew that would help the most amount, soldiers, people, families who were affected. And we ourselves sent almost $5,000 to, at that time, to Hazala. When Natalie told me she was coming, I said, you have to come here and talk and tell everybody your story. Without further ado.
Thanks, Mary. Thank you all. My mom, everybody.
Is she good?
No.
You want to go sit in a better chair? No, I'm fine. Great. Okay, so thank you all for coming in this cold night. It's just so crazy, this cold. I'm wearing these duck boots. We don't have this. We don't have cold in Israel. Like, I had to take pictures of the snow. I did not want to come. It's true, I have 2 soldiers right now. One was just released. And I don't want to be away from Israel now. Nobody really wants to be away from Israel now. But my director said, you have to go. You have to tell people what's going on. And you have to. I am the spokesperson in English for Rescuers Without Borders, which is also called Hazala Lelo Gvulot. It used to be called Hazala Yehuda v'Shomron, which means Rescuers in Judea and Samaria. We are a bunch of medical rescue volunteers, 1,600 of us that pretty much live and operate in the settlements in Yehuda and Shomron, which is north of Jerusalem and south of Jerusalem. And I'm looking for a map to show you what I'm talking about, but there's no map. And it's very funny. In a lot of American Jewish homes, people very dedicated to Israel. This is not a put down. This is just the way it is. People do not have maps. People do not know where anything is in Israel. You come to Israel, you get on the tour bus, you go to Hebron, you go up the steps, you go down the steps, you go back to your hotel, and zil. And I've asked people, I live in Susia, I live in the southern Hebron Hills. You know where Hebron is? And they nod along. Yeah. It's up north, right? It's not up north.
It's a strategic site.
There's strategic sites all over Yehuda and Shomron. Yehuda and Shomron is the Bible Belt, okay? That's where all the action is. That's where all the Arabs are, and they know it is a very special place. It is the best place in Israel. I found it by accident. I fell asleep in the car. We were living in the south. People told us to go check out this goat farm, and we went driving, and I fell asleep. I didn't see the checkpoint. I didn't see the soldiers. I didn't see the automatic gate. I opened my eyes, and we pull in, and I saw red roofs and olive trees and a big section of grass and mommies and their babies eating ice cream. And I was like, this is nice, I like this. And then when the nighttime comes, I saw like some twinkling lights in the distance, and I asked people, what's that? And they said, oh, that's Yatta. You know Yatta? Not a nice place to visit. Yatta is where they found those 3 boys who were kidnapped. Yatta is a very nasty Arab village, an extension of Hebron. And then I realized where we were and what was going on, and I realized everybody carries a weapon, and yes, there is a security force here, yes, there are soldiers here, and I already liked the place. We didn't move there for ideology. We actually said we would never live over the green line. But I found it by accident, and I liked it. And you know what? You fear what you don't know. It's true, you fear what you don't know. And there is danger everywhere. There were visitors who came a couple years ago and they wanted to do a tour of Susia. We have a goat farm, we have olives, we have wine, and I was gonna take them around and do some hiking. And it was Pesach, very busy travel time, you all know, everybody comes for Pesach. And they had rented an armored van. And we didn't get it, somebody else got it before us. So I told them, I called them up and I said, I'm sorry, we don't have the armored van, are you okay with the regular van? And I spoke to the husband on the phone, he said, Natalie, it's okay with me, but I'm gonna put you on the phone with my wife. And she was like, Natalie, come on, this is my whole family. We're not tough like you. No, I am not tough. I'm just like you. But like I said, you can get used to anything. I mean, I used to be afraid to go to the Man Music Center. There's danger in the world. When people say stay safe, there's nobody who's safe anymore. It's just the way it is. You have to be vigilant, you have to be strong, you have to stand up straight, you have to wear your high, you know, you have to cover your hair, you have to say, I'm a Jew, I'm a proud Jew. You have to be loud, you have to be proud. You cannot hide who you are, because our enemy thrives on the quiet, weak Jew. They love it. They are so jealous of Israel. We are strong, we are thriving. There are 500,000 Jews living in Yehuda and Shimon. There are about 2 million Arabs. We don't know an accurate count. We have, you know, grapevines and we have olive groves and everybody drives around and people have 10 kids. I have 5 kids. I'm a small family. And we have factories and we have farms and we have schools and we have yeshivas and we have ulpanot and we have machinot and we have, you know what those are, machinot, free army schools. The kids are living lots of very active, thriving communities in Yehuda and Shimon, and the Arabs can't stand it. They can't stand it. Okay, they want us to be little, nothing, asking permission to walk on the sidewalk. This is not supposed to be political talk, but you know, I've been here for 6 days, I think, and every American I talk to tells me that there's social media and online bullying and nastiness and this is what's going on here. This doesn't go on in Israel. This, I don't even know what to say. It's so foreign to me. We are worried about our kids. The morning of October 7th, I was walking my dogs at 7 in the morning.
Dad is on the way.
And it was Shabbat, and it was Simchat Torah. And I walk early so people don't see me because I wear sweatpants and a goofy hat. And I was walking, and I saw in the distance smoke. We're an hour from Gaza. And I heard thunder. I thought it was thunder. And I was walking in my circle. I go around the security perimeter, and a friend of mine said, something's going on. And I was like, yeah, I think there's thunder. Storm's going. No, something's going on. I didn't really believe it. So I got closer to home, and next to our house is the Moadona, a club room, like a multi-purpose room, and they were using it for the early minyan that morning. And the little children were outside and they were looking at the sky. So I thought they were playing a candy game. And like people were throwing up candy. Why else would they be looking at the sky? Okay, I walk in the house and that Shabbat, everybody was home. Now, soldiers in Israel, many of you know this, they come home every other weekend, every other Shabbat. Okay, you see them often. Every 3 weeks, every 2 weeks. They're rarely home at the same time. I have two soldiers at the same time. They're rarely home together. That Shabbat, one stayed home, one went to his friend because it's too boring where we live. And they are teenagers. They sleep until noon, right? I walk in the house. It's now 8 o'clock, and my boy is awake in his uniform on his phone. Weird. We don't use our phones on Shabbat. He doesn't get up early, and he certainly doesn't put on his uniform unless he has to. And he said, Mommy, I have to go to base. They need us, there's a war. And what do we think? You know, well, how are you gonna get there? We don't drive. Nobody drives, we're in a religious yeshuv. So my husband walked him to the gate to catch a tramp. You know what a tramp is? Hitchhiking. We thought, like, you know, maybe someone, nobody's gonna be going by. I don't know what we were thinking, we didn't really understand. At the same time, I don't know what happens here. Purim, Simchat Torah, drinking. Yeah, the kids are drinking. So the kids are drinking early. They go to shul that day to drink, specifically alcohol. And I have a 13-year-old, and he came into the house around then. This is now 9 o'clock. He said, Mommy, my kids they said they saw Daddy driving. was it a dream? Am I dreaming? I said, no, Daddy's driving. He has to take Zevi to the basis of war. Now, where we live, it's quiet. We don't have sirens. We don't hear rockets. So we thought it was just action in Gaza, and it would never affect us. And he is Sankhanim. He's a paratrooper, so they are fighters, and he is a combat medic. And it was kind of strange that they'd be calling them up. But it must have been severe, and maybe they're just calling everybody up. We didn't really know. We're not Israeli. We didn't grow up with this. And it's Shabbat, so it's not like we're running to the neighbors to check and compare. Everyone's busy. Everyone's in their pajamas. You know, like we just knew what was around us. So eventually, my husband actually did end up driving him, and my son was right. And we got a knock on our door. Now it's like 11 o'clock. 2 teenagers came to our door, and they were drunk too. And they said, "There's a war. Turn on your phones, get out your weapons, and stay in the house." And I thought they were like kind of being smart Alex, you know? And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we know, all right, see ya." And they were going house to house. They were told to do this, but it was weird. It was still weird. And I guess I didn't take it seriously enough, or understand. Lunchtime comes, and the 2 youngest went to shul, and they came home, and they said, "Mommy, in shul they say there was a big party, and some Arab terrorists broke in and killed a bunch of people." I said, "What idiot said that?" I didn't believe him. I was like, "Go get the salad, wash your hands," and it's ridiculous. I totally just, didn't. And I don't think that's so different than a lot of people that day, because we're not watching the news like all of you 7 hours later. We're just getting it in little pieces. And that night, and my son did call me. The one who was away actually called me and said, "I can't come home. There are rockets here." He was in Kiryat Gat. "There are rockets here. I can't get out. Well, I'll come home when I can. And I have to go to base too." He's a fighter also. Tolchanim artillery. And it was kind of exciting to us, like, because we don't have sirens, so we're like, wow, sirens, cool, And that night, even a friend of mine came over. It was last, it was Sukkot still. It was the last day of Sukkot. So we sat in the sukkah, and she came over to see my kitchen and to talk. And my son came home, and I didn't even get up to see him. I said, "Just go in the house, talk to the kids. I'll be there in a minute." We didn't really know what was going on. The next day, all the men left, all the boys left. We had sandbags up where I usually walk the dogs, and I'm by myself. There was security, and these are men I know. These are like 35, 45-year-old men who didn't go. They were serving here, all in fatigues, and we heard that people had been kidnapped, and we started seeing the pictures, and we got stories, and my kids knew people at that music festival. They knew 2 boys who covered themselves in mud and dug a hole and survived. We know somebody who was in a Jeep and drove across the field and didn't go on the road, and he got away. The stories started coming in, but really little by little, it wasn't like prepared news. And a great thing is that everybody came back to Israel. The kids who were away traveling, they all came back. We had a new leader of the Kitat Konanu, which is the security team in Susia. It had been something like 8 people. Now it's like 40 people. They took it seriously. They got very organized. And they set up a Hamal, which is a command center right behind the bus station. And this guy came back from Thailand, and he took over. He's 28 years old. He's like a big deal. And it was this old Frenchman who was like 60. I mean, like, they started taking things seriously. And we were told that we were at high risk, we were vulnerable, and the Arabs knew it. Everything was closed. There was no school. I have a boy who learns in Eilat at the yeshiva. He was home. I have a boy who's in Mechina, pre-army in the Jordan Valley. He was home. My daughter learns in Arad. She was home. The soldiers were gone. Everybody who had kids, everybody is somebody in the army. They either have a son in the army, or a brother in the army, or a husband who had to go serve. Everybody has somebody. And I had 2 soldiers, there people with 8. And they took in their children, their married children with little kids. And everybody was kind of like, the store was closed, I think. We have a market. Everything was closed, and everybody was was together and praying a lot of Tehillim, and this report is, and this is before Gaza. It was before Gaza, and we knew we were gonna have to go into Gaza. So who's gonna go into Gaza? The fighters. So I have 2 fighters, and my son is Sam Khanim. He's a paratrooper. They're like very well-respected unit, and he's a medic, combat medic, and he was gonna have to go into Gaza. We got 4 hours to see him before he went in. It was like October 26th. We had to meet him on a hillside. They were all the soldiers at this time. There were, I think, there were like 12 breaches in that fence, right? And all that area, the Gaza border had to be guarded. So all the soldiers are sleeping on dirt. They're all patrolling all this time. They didn't have showers. They didn't have beds. My son asked for Harry Potter books in Hebrew so he could share them with his friends. He's a driver. He had to patrol. It was like we were all a little anxious, and there were a lot of missiles, but nobody, it wasn't like we felt like it was a war yet. I'd be honest with you, we didn't really feel like it was a war. It was action. The boys they want action. It's boring. Sometimes the army's boring. So. And this is, we didn't know about these things that you all know here. When I talk to my American friends, it's so funny the things they ask me, like they know the names of these kidnapped people, they know their stories. We didn't. We weren't watching that. We were just concerned about our kids. And that's how it really is. Everyone's concerned about their kids. And the morale is very high because nobody is really talking about what happened. You can't bring down morale. I asked my son, I think probably it was a mistake, but I did. And I was like, what happened? How could this happen? And he's like, Mommy, those Arabs were playing around by that fence for weeks. And they were just testing it and checking all the security and learning our moves. And I went to the training course with a lot of those boys at that base, and they're gone. And they were new. They were only there a month. So they went into Gaza, and no phones. And since then, we don't hear from him. The way we communicate is a Milwimnik reservist will take a picture of the letters, and the soldiers write the phone number on the bottom of the letter, and they send it to us. So we get a picture of a letter. I've gotten 2, and that was the last one was last week. And the parents group on WhatsApp is crazy. They're constantly sending food and snacks and cigarettes and hats and gloves and whatever they can do to get their kids. They call them kids. The first time I got a message, someone wrote to me and said, can you please send 50 shekel for Shabbat food? We want to get the kids, Yeladim, grape juice and challah. And I thought it was my 18-year-old who's a kid. So I said, our boys are together? She goes, yes. I said, they're at the mechinah? She goes, no, they're in the army. I said, Lama atem korim lehem yeladim? Why are you calling them children? She said, there are children forever. And these boys who go to fight, and some of you probably know some lone soldiers, they really are kids. They all are soldiers. It's something they do. Maybe it's something you can compare to going to college in America. It's part of their life. It's part of their culture. They talk about it. They go to pre-army. They, who's going to get into this unit and that unit. We're already talking. I mean, my daughter is 16. She's already getting notices in the mail. And it's part of the culture, but you don't expect, none of us expected it to be like they wouldn't come back. And it's been very hard. We've lost 3 soldiers so far in Susia. One 24-year-old, the mother is a good friend of mine. She plays basketball with me. It's very sad. He's an artist. I know him. He and his other really good soldier, very serious soldier, very good student, and they were rescuing a mission to rescue hostages, and it was booby-trapped, and they were killed, and the hostages were dead. And then that was the first night of Hanukkah, and then a few weeks later, a boy across the street, the guy's like a father with a baby, who was my son's madrich, counselor this summer. He was killed, and then 2 weeks later, another one. It was just awful. And the tent goes up, the army brings a tent for Shiva, puts it next to their house, and bathrooms. It's just awful. And it's really bad. And there's really no good news. The farms, you probably have heard, the farms, all the Thai workers left. so the farms have been abandoned, and volunteers from all across the country have been going to the farms. I go every week. I do something every week. I've gone to oranges, lemons. I've planted in the mud. Groups of senior citizens go to these farms. Instead of companies taking their field trip or retreat to Eilat, they're going to the farms. I went there for my birthday. I took 2 boys of mine for picking fruit along the Gaza border. So things are not like hopeless and depressing. People really are coming together and doing what they can. I mean, there's so much to do. There's so many volunteer opportunities. All these people have been evacuated for their homes. There are 22 towns along the Gaza border, and these people are in hotels in the Dead Sea, in Yerushalayim, in Tel Aviv, and Eilat. We can't go to Eilat because the town has been taken over by evacuees. What my organization does is the first response rescuers, okay? They set up years ago a horse farm in one of the kibbutzim, Kibbutz Orim, because the children there, as many of you know, have been traumatized by terror for years. There were tunnels going into their houses, there were balloons coming over that would blow up, and a lot of rocket attacks. So we set up a farm with some French donors. It's animal therapy. I think they call it zoo therapy. They probably have it in America. Very effective, and we got a horse farm together. Well, that kibbutz has been evacuated, and a lot of our students have either been, it's just so awful, they've been kidnapped or killed, and their parents too, and we don't know where they are, and they are all, displaced. And I even brought a donor this summer, and she donated a horse. And she wrote to me last week, "How's the horse? Can you send me a picture of the horse?" And I was like, well, the horse is fine, okay, but nobody's riding it right now. So sad. So we set up a truck, a zoo therapy truck. This is like, again, like I'm trying to give you something positive. We took a truck and they put like rabbits and hamsters on this truck. And they go from, my rescuers, the people I work with, go from hotel to hotel, town to town, a few days a week, and help these kids. Help these kids. And I actually worked on the truck the day before I left. It was like very hard, very, very awful work. My daughter got a rash even. But there's even a therapy dog on this truck in a separate room, and we're helping the kids as best we can to, I don't know, to have some kind of emotional stability. I guess, I mean, who can say what they've seen? That's one project, which is interesting and a little different, that we're trying to show something positive. I wrote 11 pages, I have an 11-page speech here, and I'm like looking for something positive. That's one thing. Another thing is, we built a laundry truck. We took a truck, we put 3 laundry machines, a dryer, 2 showers, and a barber. And we go down the Gaza border and the different bases as they're using this laundry truck. And then we do a barbecue at night, very, very nice. And the boys love it. They need it, they're using it. And those are 2, I guess, positive things. I mean, the country's come together. People are really, the morale is very high. And we're looking at another year. And, it's so sad. My mom and I talk all the time, and she'll call and say, "Natalie, what's new?" And I'm like, well, nothing good, Mom. It's nothing good. I mean, I don't even watch the news. I'll tell you what's good, though. I sleep. I actually can sleep. I went to a therapy session for women with mothers and soldiers in the Army, and we had to go around the circle and say who we had in the Army, and then say something good and something bad, meaning something challenging and something that helps us. And I did not think I would be at this meeting for 3 hours. There were only 15 women. It took so long. And they got to me, and I said, I really don't want to talk about what's challenging, but I'll tell you what helps is sleep. And I know people here are glued to their phones and you're watching the news and people are very anxious and worried. But you need to take care of yourselves, and we need your prayers. And they are working. My sons are on a few tefillah, in Philadelphia. My kids, people call me right away. Tell me your names. We'll say tefillah for your children, and it's helping. It's working. People have donated helmets and vests for all the reservists. They called up 350,000 people at once. They were not ready for this. They had this old equipment. Some people didn't have any vests. It's just terrible, and everyone is affected. Everybody has someone. Everyone either has a soldier or someone who was rescuing that day who was a soldier, who got injured or killed or kidnapped, It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. Everybody you talk to. I went to look for a used car, just like maybe 3 weeks into the war. And the guy working there, knows someone I know, and his leg was shot off. Oh yeah, that guy, kidnapped. I mean, his father's the head of police of the Negev, and the policeman was kidnapped. There's a lot of misinformation, I think, out there, and you can call it propaganda, you can call it fake news. I mean, I don't know, but I had to come and just tell you what it's like for real. And we're functioning, everything's open now. The kids, like my son goes to school 1 week yes, 1 week no, because all the teachers are in the army. My boy in Mechina up north, he's there, but evacuees have taken over their school to live there. So they put them on a farm, and he picks tamarim, dates. They're at a date farm, pretty much, and doing like exercises. And everyone's at little hiccups in the system, I guess. My computer broke before I came. My laptop, the screen. I went to Kiryat Arba, to its closest town, to get it fixed, and they're like, yeah, we can do this in 3 days. In 3 days, we can get someone to look at it. I was like, why? I'm leaving tomorrow. He goes, well, our technician's in Milouim. I mean, like, everyone's in Milouim. Milouim is reserves. Like, everybody is involved. Everybody. And people are being very kind to each other, and they're being very patient, and it's a very, very hard time. The 100 days was marked last week, and I was in the car that day, and the radio was just so depressing. It was so awful. They had parents speaking to their kidnapped children on the radio, hoping they would hear it, and saying things like, hang in there, just a little longer, we're turning the world upside down to get you out, we love you, we miss you, we can't wait to make pizza with you again, just hang on, we're doing everything we can, we're gonna get you out. It was just awful. I mean, it was just awful. It was just awful. I wish I had better news. It just doesn't look good. And here's something, and maybe you could say this is good. There are 3,000 Hamasnikim that came across the border that day, and only 1,200 Jews were killed. So that's good. I think almost all the Hamasnikim that came over were killed. And you hear about little battles that happened. Very cool. Kibbutz Orim is fine. Nobody got in there. Kibbutz Sad, nobody got in there. We have to realize we are very different. Those people who were at that peace festival and those people who live along the Gaza border are such, they were so hopeful, and they were such good people, and just naive, I think, and wow, no, they didn't see it coming, but those Arabs were just so joyful coming into, I have a movie, I'm not going to show it, but we have a woman saying she was in her safety and she heard women and children and men, just such the glee. She said they ran into our house, they ransacked our house, and they were like singing. They were so excited, they were so happy. It's a craze, it's just, the Jews are alone. They really are. You can say, no, we have allies, we have friends. Really? Really? Do we? Because can we really count on anyone? We have to count on ourselves. We really need a lot more Jews. We do. We do. Israel's the only place we've got. 6 million of us are there. 6 million are here. Why? I host a radio talk show on Israel News Talk Radio called Returning Home. And they put me on the radio in 2020 at the beginning of Corona because here there were protests for someone who died, George Floyd or something like this. And there was a big, rough time here. And they thought 50,000 American Jews were going to come to Israel. You know how many came? 4,000. 4,000. It's the same. It's always 4,000. It's kind of, what am I going to say? I know it's comfortable here. I know it sounds like this is not supposed to be about Aliyah. I just can't help it. You guys are so dedicated. So many of you send your children, and then they come home, then they come back. I'm like, you're not supposed to be here. And it's challenging, and it's hard, but it's really the best place in the world. I changed my entire life. I was raised in Wilmington, Delaware, a conservative Jew. This is my best friend from childhood. Went to Hebrew school together 3 times a week, Bat Mitzvah party, 2 Seders at night, Rosh Hashanah. And I went to college, and I was going to go to this 100 days on a boat at the University of Pittsburgh. It's called Semester at Sea. And I was not a very good student, so I thought, wow, semester at sea, I probably don't have to do anything. I thought, I'll go better. And I went to this college, and the first week I joined this club because there were these boys at the table, and they were eating falafel, but I didn't know it was falafel. It was just like, looked good, And behind them, there was a movie showing palm trees and beaches, which was Israel. But I didn't know it was Israel. I was like, wow, what's that? They said, that's Israel. And we're Israeli. I was like, oh, what's this club? Israel Club. You gotta join. Okay. And I became friends with them. It was called Masada. It might still be around that kind of, it's a college group, college club. And they convinced me to go to Israel. So I gave up that 100 days on a boat. That dream didn't happen. I went to Israel for a year, Hebrew University of Jerusalem, first person in my family to go to Israel. And I met Jews from all over the world, very strong. And I guess I changed. And I thought, this is for me. And I was raised to be a quiet Jew. I mean, my dad, I love him. He passed away this summer, but he told me to be quiet about being Jewish. And I went to public school, and there would be a girl in class, and she would raise her hand when there's a Jewish holiday and say, you can't have a test that day, teacher. It's a Jewish holiday. I was not that girl. I was embarrassed by that girl. But, we all can change and grow. And I changed, I ended up where I was, and you learn, and you adapt, and you grow. And, we're not afraid. None of us are afraid. It's weird, Should I be afraid? That's the one question I always get. Are you afraid? Aren't you afraid? No, I'm not. So there's material here. Please take some. There are brochures there, a little bit about what we do. And there are pictures here of my life. You can see some of my kids. You can see my dogs. And thank you. Yeah?
Can you talk a little bit about what your organization does in Yehuda and Shomron?
Yeah, so we're the first response medics in Yehuda and Shomron. We're 101. We work with Magen David Adom. If you have a medical emergency, it doesn't matter if it's terror or you're having a baby, we're the ones who are there. We're on call. We're volunteer medics, 1,600 of us, living in the Yehuda and Shomron, in the areas. We're not like at a station somewhere. And we need help. We need equipment. It's rough terrain. You've been to, Yehuda and Shomron, any of you been to the valley in California? It's the same terrain. It's rocky, it's hilly. And sometimes, kids, fall into a well, you have to say to them. There are a lot of families out there, and it's a very healthy lifestyle, and people have regular accidents just like you and me. I mean, my mom was visiting me, my dog scratched her face, we needed a medic. My kid fell on the court last summer and fell on his arms, we needed a medic. It's not all terror, but there's a lot of it. There's a lot of car accidents. Are they really car accidents, or somebody hits your car on, there's terror. So our medics are on.
Will you, I'm sorry, go ahead, please. Is your organization part of United?